Monday, 13th of May 2024. I was diagnosed, for those who may not have seen earlier sort of podcasts, I was diagnosed with esophageal cancer during February, I think it was, maybe March. Um, and I've been going through a lot of investigations up until this point. Last week, on Thursday, which would have been about the 9th, I saw a Dr. Enifer, nice man. Basically, this is the start of my chemotherapy. It's actually considerably quicker than I expected. I was given the impression it might take a month or so. And we were talking about sorting out some polyps that came out in a colonoscopy that had been identified. So now that I'm starting the chemotherapy, the polyps are obviously going to have to wait until after all the chemotherapy has stopped, and that's both in terms of before any operation that I have and after any operation I have. So Dr. Renifer basically explained to me what was going to happen. I'm going to be get a combination of three different drugs, which are the chemotherapy drugs. I will be given other drugs because, as most people will know, even those who don't suffer or even don't have anybody close to them that has suffered from cancer, most people know that there are side effects with chemotherapy. Not the least most known one is the fact that you lose hair. But as I start off with being a slaphead, I might lose this. I don't know, but my head is already nicely smooth, so that bit I'm not overly worried about. Okay, but you never know. I might lose all of this, my eyebrows and eyelashes. I don't know what effects are going to happen, and nor do they. That's the key to it, is that don't make assumptions on any treatment that you're going to have, whether or not you're going to suffer from one of the side effects. You may well be. They may be very common, but you're not always certain of it. So it's a matter of how you approach everything. Because, from my business point of view, I learned a long time ago not to see problems. I see opportunities, learning experiences, not problems. They're challenges for me to solve, right? To get over, to beat. And that's what this cancer is. I see that at this stage, obviously, I can afford to be, is I see it as an inconvenience that needs to be beaten. And hopefully I will be one of the lucky ones. And what most people don't realise about cancer is that the vast majority of people don't have serious repercussions. They're cured of it. It's something that becomes part of their past. It doesn't have to be the end. Now, obviously, as a cancer patient, and virtually everybody I know sees the blackness that could be there with cancer, or with any very serious form of disease, illness, whatever you want to call it. I don't focus on the problems. I focus on winning. I focus on beating cancer. But I'm going to go through a number of things, some of which are not going to be happy, not going to be nice, right? Now, I've already been through phenomenal amount of stress, emotions that trigger, when you don't want to, like now actually, and it's normal for anyone to have these sort of reactions. I'm trying to deliver to you how I feel, not just about the details of my journey. Because part of the feelings that you're going to have are what are really the real problem, unless the cancer gets very, very serious. But they are the biggest problem at this stage for all of us, is your imagination going wild, seeing negativity, seeing horrendous different things. So that I'm trying to fight and move out of my way. It is an obstacle in the way of my future. So therefore, I want to find the ways to clear my path of those obstacles. The cancer itself is one of the obstacles, and obviously the reason I'm going through all these treatments is to clear it away from my future. It may work, it may not. Now, I've been told I'm one of the lucky 20% who doctors can help. So I'm working on the basis that I can beat cancer. And I'm determined that I will beat cancer. So, last week, Dr. Ennifer talked about what I was going what's going to happen over the next few weeks. The interesting thing was I thought I was going for about 3 months of chemotherapy, but it turns out to be 8 weeks. Fantastic. Basically, I will be getting my drugs every fortnight, and there's going to be a test beforehand to ensure it is, and at the end I'll go through some scans to see what the effect of the chemotherapy has been, and then they can decide whether or not that I'm suitable for the operation that they've already talked to me about, or whether I'm not suitable. Now, I don't know at this stage what the criteria of that is, but at the moment the doctors are talking about that's what they want to do. I'll be honest with you, the surgery is very scary. But I'm not going to hide from it. I am still going to take it if that is something I am allowed to do. It's going to take my stomach and use portion of it to replace my esophagus, because the cancer that I have is called an esophageal cancer. And the position of this one is where the esophagus comes down into the stomach. It's at that joint in the stomach where my cancer is. So therefore, they're going to have to take away that top of the stomach as well as things, so that they can then reformat it in to replace my esophagus. Very extreme. It's going to take 7-8 hours in surgery. So yeah, that's scary. That is really, really scary. But the current situation is we're going through chemo. So what I'm going to have in is what's called a PICC, and basically it's a permanent cannula put into my arm, so that I can actually receive the drugs every fortnight and there. And one of the drugs will be put into some sort of pump to pump in over a day or so. I will be coming home for one of the drugs after they infused into me 2 of them. You know, when you talked about this is a cocktail you're going to get, you think it's all going to be mixed up together with a little bit of a nice squeeze of lemon and so forth, but no. They're being done independently, separately, which is something I was not aware of. So if you hear that you're having a cocktail of 2, 3, 4 drugs, ask the question as to what's happening. I made the assumption of what's going to happen, but in fact, turns out I was wrong on that assumption. And as they always say, don't assume anything, because it makes an ass out of me. Okay, so one's going to take about an hour to infuse, and the other one's going to take about 2 hours to infuse, and the final one, which is going to come home with me, is going to take a day or 2. So over that period, I'm going to have had my chemo drugs infused into my bloodstream. And obviously at the end of 8 weeks, I will be having scans, blood tests and various things like that to check exactly what's happened to my cancer. I don't know what sort of scans. I presume I'm going to have a CT scan and a PET scan. I hope I don't have an MRI, because I suffer very badly from claustrophobia. And the last time anyone tried to put me through an MRI scanner, I was triggered into my claustrophobia, and I behaved in a way I never wanted to behave again. So I have to be very careful about anything that doctors want to do, because if my claustrophobia kicks in, I don't want to hurt anyone. So yes, this whole episode is an emotional journey for me. Do apologise. So I'm going to have every fortnight some new chemo drugs, and after 4 sessions, they will then put me through the various tests to check what the chemo has done. And after that, the team up in London will be able to decide whether or not I'm suitable, in a fit enough condition and able to cope with the operation. Let me explain. To be able to take out the esophagus, they're going to have to collapse one lung. As a lifetime smoker, they're obviously concerned about that. And this is one of the things that they're going through tests to make certain that I am fit and healthy enough to do that. Now, there is no suspicion of cancer or anything like that in my lungs, or any problems that way. They've done laparoscopy to see if there was any more disease around, and there's not. They found that the polyps in my colon are not cancerous. But I want them removed because I have a feeling that they are indicative of the digestive problem I've had literally since birth. I don't know for certain it is, but nobody's actually looked at it. So, having seen the size, they look like golf balls inside my colon, and I thought, no wonder I have difficulty. No wonder I get constipation. But the doctors and nurses and so forth are not so certain. And yet, when I look up on the NHS site about the polyps, it is a known factor that they can cause constipation and difficulty. So it's possible. So if I can get rid of those, then maybe I have a little bit more normal digestive system, which will be oh so wonderful. But the biggest thing is to get this cancer, then get my swallowing back, whether it just takes the chemo or whether I've got to have the operation and further chemo to just make certain everything's dealt with. I'll do whatever the doctors think is necessary. I am not going to give in to my fears. It would be the easiest thing going, but I don't work that way. I decide what is the result I want, and the result I want is to beat cancer. So now I'm prepared to take whatever steps the doctors deem necessary. I may not like them, but I'm going to do them. So Monday, which is today, I've been on the pre-assessment. Wednesday, they're fitting what they call a pick, which is basically a cannula that's sitting there permanently over the next 8 weeks. On the following Monday, I start getting my treatment. So I'll be in there for 4.5 hours, going through all the various tests and this, that and the other first, and then being infused with the various different drugs in the hospital, and then setting up the pick so that I can be infused over the following day or so. And then I go back again a few days before the next Monday, 2 weeks on Monday, so that I can then have my blood test, checking that everything's okay and the blood levels are all acceptable, blah, 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 blah. I have no idea what they're checking for, to be honest. So they're just going to check. That's their job, not mine. Okay? And they'll say, right, no, we're going to have to leave you for another week before we can do it, or you can go ahead on your normal dates. So I have a diary of things that are going to happen, but depending on how my bloods settle will depend on whether that diary stays as it is or whether it's changed from time to time. And that's where the doctors and nurses, all the technicians and so forth, will do their jobs to make certain that I'm getting the sort of treatment that I want. This is something I've discovered, is there are many people involved in my treatment, right? I have a team here locally in the William Harvey Hospital, a part of the East Kent National Health Service Trust. But the cancer is actually being run by the Maidstone Trust. They do all the oncology in this area, but I'm actually under the East Kent one. So that's that. However, the operations and the laparoscopy and all those sort of things have been done up in London at St Thomas's Hospital, which is part of the Guy's and St Thomas's NHS Trust, because of their expertise. They're the experts in terms of the operation that I will be having, with a bit of luck, at a later date. So I've got a variety of different professionals. I mean, to begin with, when I was going through all the various different scans, starting with an endoscopy and then a CT scan and a PET scan, and then when going on to a colonoscopy, then going up to London and going to have an ultrasound, another laparoscopy. It was like, one, I couldn't say laparoscopy very easily because it kept on getting stuck on my tongue. But eventually, as you heard, I could just about say it. I wouldn't say I was good at it. But it was so confusing because there was a different consultant each time, and I have no idea. Even now, I really don't know who is in charge of my case. Right? I literally only know that when passed to that department, for instance now, Dr. Ennifer is in charge of my chemo treatment. When I was up in London, well, actually, I don't know who my consultant was in London. I think I spoke to him, but I can't remember his name. I think he introduced me as himself as one of the doctors. I don't know who is the consultant that I'm working with. I know who I spoke to on the phone after that. I haven't got his name here at the moment. Richie, was it? I can't remember anyway. If you look back on my treatment plan, you'll find his name and so forth. But this is the thing. It doesn't actually, from my point of view, it doesn't matter because different departments have different consultants who are in charge, and I must admit to being feeling like a tennis ball getting batted over there, backing back over here, then over there, and you're going, I have no idea where I'm up to. I know I've got two lovely nurses who are looking after my treatment, one in London and one down here, Diane and Liviana. Wonderful girls looking after me exceedingly well. So, and to be honest, every single department has done an amazing job. Done quickly, efficiently, by professionals. I love it, right? Every single thing I don't have a complaint about. Things haven't always gone right. I've mentioned these before. But with the best will in the world, when does anything go perfectly right in life? Yeah, it doesn't, does it? It never, ever goes perfectly. So I don't have any problems, and I raise the problems that I did have to help the doctors, to help the medical teams to understand where perhaps they need to have a look at to sort of tighten things up so these sort of things don't happen. I mean, we do that in business all the time. We keep reviewing what we're doing constantly, getting feedback from customers, feedback from staff, then know so you know where the problems are, because that's the most important thing, to keep the quality of what you deliver to your customers up high, is by being prepared to look at what you do wrong. Right now, doesn't mean to say you're delivering a bad service, because none of this throughout the time has ever been bad service, right? We've all heard about the different types of doctors that you have, but I'll tell you one thing: I've experienced lots of different types of doctors, but the one thing about them is they're good at what they do. They're very good at what they do, and I have not had one complaint about what they do, right? I'm over the moon with every single one of the team that I've got. They talk to you, they care about you. I remember one nurse, very officious, not officious, no, very formal when actually doing the actual process of the work. When talking to me directly, it was, yeah, but we do this, da, 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 da. And with a smile and a nice voice, and you're thinking, now I know that person. When she's working, to be little miss efficient. And she gave me a great service with her doctor that she was working with. Fantastic job, right? But when they actually come to talk to you, they show that they care. It's like, a policeman on a junction, come in there. But when a little kid comes by and simply says, "Oh, can I join in?" and he comes bend down and talk to them. That's the point of the thing, is that the person is still there. They have to be efficient for their jobs, and they're doing an amazing job. Everything has happened so quickly. Beautiful. So I start chemotherapy next week. So next week, I'll talk to you about how I feel. Because I think chemotherapy is one of those things that most people get scared about. And I want to find out what's it like. I'm actually not scared of the chemo, right? One, because I can't lose any more hair. Well, I can, but not on the head. I don't have a problem with that. But there's so many other things that could be side effects. I mean, I've got a list of them. You'd be amazed at what paperwork they've given me, right? It's about that thick of papers about cancer and this and that. I'll tell you one thing: I haven't read it all, but I will look through it all. Yes. Their job is not only to make you well, but actually to keep you smiling, keep you positive. They do a good job. Speak to you next week. Thank you very much. Bye for now.